Hey, I'm Ann Wilson, Wealth Chef, and today I want to talk to you about the importance of an emergency fund. What it is, why you need it, where to keep it, and what it serves in your life. So here's a terrifying statistic. In the developed world, it's estimated that 63% of households could not come up with $1,000, 800 pounds, 10,000 rand, 800 euros in the event of a real emergency. How terrifying is that? And so what would happen is that either need to sell something or go into debt in order to cover that cost. And that is not freedom. That is not a way to sort of be living. That is walking life on a knife edge. And this is why so many people end up in devastating financial situations, because the reality is, to be expected, life's unexpected events are going to happen. In other terminology, shit happens, and we need to be prepared for it. And that's exactly what an emergency fund is all about. So your emergency fund is there to catch you. It's quite literally there to have ready liquid, like in the form of cash, so that when something happens, be it a medical emergency, be it your car breaks down and that's your mechanism to go and earn income, something comes along where you absolutely have to come up with money, that is where you go. You don't go and sell your investments. You don't go into debt. That is what your emergency fund is about. So your emergency fund, key first criteria is it's cash. It's not credit on your credit card. It's not money sitting on your mortgage that you could maybe access. It's not Auntie Mabel that you could maybe lend some money from. That is cash. It could be sitting in a bank account, but for some people will actually even want to have it sitting in cash. Now that depends where you live, whether you feel that's safe or not, and what is the state of your currency. So what you're needing is, you want to have a bank account that sits specifically for your emergency fund, and then you're going to see there's another top up we do for it as well. So if you're not going to have it in cash, you want to have it in that, and you want to fill that up. And your emergency fund is the most important, very, very first bottom line of your financial well-being. You get in place emergency fund before you pay off debt, before you start saving. This is vital, because this is the thing that's going to prevent you from doing some really disastrous things to your finances. It keeps you away from that cliff edge, and it gives you that buffer. So you want to be building up a cash safety net equivalent to about $1,000, 10 to 15,000 rand, 800 pounds to 1,000 pounds that sits, as say, in cash or in equivalent of a cash in an account, and it needs to be in a different account from your transactional account. The reality is, if it's sitting in your day-to-day banking account, you're going to spend it, because yes, you're going to have a shoe emergency, you're going to have an ice cream emergency, something's going to come along. Those aren't the emergencies we're talking about. This is for real emergencies, which you set aside. So in your savings account, if you're going to have it in that way, your first slice is your emergency fund. Now, part of your financial well-being is creating safety. You can only progress in life at the speed of safety. And so much of your financial well-being is providing a catch net, a safety for you to be able to go and do more, experience life, feel safe. So you're not waking up at 3 a.m. wondering if you or your family is going to be okay. And so once you've got that emergency fund in place, you've taken one step back from the cliff. You're a little bit safer. Now we want to increase your safety. So the next thing you're going to be doing with part of your safety net, and this is really all about your security, is filling up the rest with what is called your cash safety net. And this is filled right up. And how much are you going to need in there? Well, you're aiming to have between 3 and 9 months of your basic living needs. So in order to understand this, you've got to know what your lifestyle costs. Yep, you need to know what your expenses are. So if you don't yet track your expenses and have your income statement, knowing how money is flowing through your life, go and find another blog that I've done on that, and you'll learn exactly how to do your income statement. But you've got to know what your outgoings are. And then your basic living needs are literally those expenses that relate to your survival and your access to ability to earn. So this is not your luxuries. This is not entertainment. This is not discretionary spend on clothing and holidays and the kids' activities. This is food, shelter. This is security, and this is access for your ability to earn. So it's really important that you work out what that is every month, and that is your basic living needs. And then you determine how many months do you want that cash safety net. And I say between 3 and 9, because it's really going to depend on your own level of safety. And you can first do a gut check-in. If you knew you had your basic living needs covered for 3, 5, 6, 8, 9 months, which one makes you feel safe? Because that is the point. Because the point of this cash safety net is that if for some reason your current active income or the way that money comes into your life was to dry up, so that could be from employment, it could even be from certain of your assets, it could be a divorce settlement, however money flows in, if that source had to stop, this is to ensure that you are able to survive, that it can carry you over for a number of months for you to find an alternative source of income, so that you don't end up again going into debt, or even worse, selling those wonderful assets that you've been building up and investing. So you decide whether it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And if you're in a relationship, you want to be discussing this with your partner. And here's the thing, the person who needs the biggest safety net wins. And you might be one of those people going, and I know I can always find a way, you know what, I only need 1 month's cash safety net. In fact, I don't need a cash safety net because, I believe in the universe. Well, you might believe in the universe, and that's fantastic. You've got to have faith. But here's the thing. God, the universe says you've got to participate in your own rescue. You've got to put in place mechanisms to catch you. So be careful if you're going, too gung-ho on the edge. But equally, you don't want too big a cash safety net. That's why you don't want more than 9 months. And it's basic living needs. It's not all of your expenses. But the reason I say the partner who needs the bigger safety net wins is because if you're in a relationship and one of you is feeling stressed around money and is not feeling safe about their financial well-being, they're not going to be able to move to the next stage of financial expansion, which is about really understanding power, expression, creativity. Because when you're in survival, when you're anxious, when you're stressed, when you're worried, you go into contraction and you can't make empowered financial decisions. You can't make good investing choices. You go into just hoarding and safety and risk aversion. And so that's why this is so important, having this in place. Now, whilst you're building this up, you can also use insurances to help you cover that cash safety net gap. So while you're building up your 3, 6, 9 months basic living needs in your cash safety net, you could use something like an income insurance, income protection insurance, to cover that gap. So you might save up 1 month of basic living needs, and then you have insurance that would cover you for the next 9 months, and it would only trigger in if you couldn't earn or your current income dried up and it was out for a whole month. So that's the way you can also combine and create your safety net through a combination of cash and insurance. But you don't only want insurances, because if you also don't have this element of self-insurance up front, that income protection is going to cost you a lot. So the more you can self-insure and the bigger you can create that cash safety net before an insurance has to kick in, the cheaper that insurance is going to be. So there's an extra little wealth tip for you. So there you have it. Emergency fund and cash safety net. 2 different things, but they can sit in the same account, or you can keep that emergency fund in cash. But this is a vital element to your financial well-being, knowing that if life's too big, unexpected events happen, not if, when, you've got this in place. And you don't then end up going into debt or using your assets and pilfering your other financial elements in order to meet that requirement, because that's how people end up keep going back and back and back. So in the comments below, I'd love to know, how big does your cash safety net need to be? Are you a 3-monther, a 6-monther, a 9-monther? And what are you going to do to get this in place really fast? And so I'm Ann Wilson, and if you're watching this anywhere other than over at thewealthchef.com, head on over there and give me your comments below the video and explore around. I've got a whole lot of resources to really support you in creating this great relationship with money, getting it working for you so you can get on and live your greatest life.